Good morning. Look where I am. Absolutely stunning. Look, amazing mountains in the distance, beautiful mangroves, gorgeous tropical sea, an amazing beach in the middle of nowhere. I'm hundreds of miles away from anywhere else. It's so beautiful, so idyllic. What's even more idyllic is this beach up ahead of me was visited about 60 years ago by Sir David Attenborough. He actually canoed here, landed on this beach, and he went and met the local people, and he shot some amazing material here, and it's absolutely stunning, just as beautiful as I always hoped it would be. But as I'm walking along this beach, we have a problem. It's a problem I didn't anticipate by coming here, and this problem is something that I'm sure Sir David would not be happy about at all, certainly something I'm sure he's not aware of. And this problem is plastic. This beach, this idyllic beach, miles and miles from anywhere, is absolutely covered in plastic. As we walk along here, the whole high tide line is covered in plastic. This area should normally be covered in coral, shells, all these beautiful things that we find. Look at this, a needle, a discarded needle. This is terrifying. Oh my goodness, look at it up here. Look at it up here. This is what I love about these videos. They are totally spontaneous. Look at this lot. This should normally be driftwood, bits of coral, shells, beautiful things that you find on a beach. Look at it. Unbelievable. And that's the problem with plastic. We've created this incredible product. This product is brilliant. You know, it's revolutionized the way humans are. You know, it's transformed our lives because it's everywhere. We use it to preserve things, wrap around things, it keeps microbes out, keeps things dry, keeps things wet. It's brilliant at sealing things, which is an excellent thing. It's everywhere in our lives, isn't it, really? Every television, every computer, so many things now have got plastic components. It has transformed our lives, and quite simply, we humans, we can't do without it. But the problem, of course, with plastic is, because it's so good at its job at preserving things, it doesn't deteriorate. It takes hundreds of years to break down. And the problem as well is it just doesn't break down in a way like an organic thing would break down, such as a piece of wood or some food or an animal or something. They break down into their components and they disappear, and they get re-ingested by the food cycle. The problem with plastic is it breaks down into smaller pieces of plastic. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually it's so small it forms plastic sand. You think, well, that's fine, it's gone, surely. No, unfortunately not. Plastic sand is still plastic. Molecularly, on the chemical level, it's still plastic. And all the filter feeders, for example, if I look down here, see these tiny, tiny holes? These are formed by worms, which are filter feeders. See these tiny, weeny pieces of plastic? Look, so it gradually breaks down, but it actually just breaks into smaller pieces. And gradually, it becomes these tiny, 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 tiny pieces that eventually become part of the sand. And then, of course, the filter feeders that live in the sand and the animals that live in the sand, they start ingesting them. It starts becoming part of their bodies. It gets stuck in their intestines because, of course, it's not digestible. Animals can't digest plastic. So it just sits there and it blocks your intestine, and eventually you die. It's just awful. In the process of them bioaccumulating this plastic in their bodies, if it doesn't kill them immediately, then what happens is they may actually be eaten by a bird, for example, because you get birds that come along and they use their bill, poke, 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 poke in the ground to dig out these worms. Of course, that's what the birds feed upon, but they eat these worms and these invertebrates that have got the plastic inside, and then it starts bioaccumulating inside of the birds as well, which, that's the problem with plastic. It doesn't go away, it just sits there. And so, of course, it's then inside the bird eats more worms, gets more plastic inside of it, eventually it forms a blockage inside that bird, and the bird dies as well. And it goes through the food chain that way. It never goes away, it just gets moved from one animal to another to another. And that is the problem with plastic. One of the great things about us humans is that we're very adaptable, we're very flexible, we're very tolerant of things. Some of us are anyway. But the thing is, with plastic, because it's not really a problem that affects us personally yet, it only seems to be affecting the environment, the animals, the landscapes and things, we say, oh no, oh that's awful, oh those poor birds, those poor animals, oh those poor beaches. But it doesn't affect us directly. All we do is make comment about it and go, oh that's terrible. But then of course we don't do anything about it because unfortunately plastic is so convenient in our lives, or we just don't realise the long-term implications of it. Now, I know there's incentives, isn't there, to try and reduce plastic. The obvious one, of course, is straws. People have talked about getting rid of plastic straws, and that's a great start. But if I look around this beach right now, in all this little lot here, there's not a single straw amongst it. It's everywhere. There is plastic everywhere. Because we love it. We humans, we adore plastic because it's so useful. Of course we're going to love it. It does so many useful things for us. But it doesn't mean to say it's any good for us, and ultimately in the long term, as we're seeing in the environment, what goes around comes around. It's affecting animals already from the microscopic level all the way up to the big animals through bioaccumulation. We are an animal as well, and sooner or later it's going to start affecting us. We just don't know how, but it will. Because look, as you can see, as I sit on this tropical island by myself, there's no one else here. There is thousands of pieces of plastic. And eventually, if they're here, they're going to be everywhere, and they're going to get into our soil, into our food, into everything. And how's that going to make us feel? How's it going to affect us? How's it going to affect my children, your children, our families, our subsequent generations? And one day they look back and they think, my goodness me, everyone saw this is happening, but nothing got done. It's because we don't know what to do. I certainly don't know what to do. I'm just absolutely shocked to be here right now and to see this. Before we know it, are we, unfortunately, going to be killed by our own product? Look at this lot. Unbelievable. Just think, this lot, on a microscopic scale, will one day be inside your intestine, and your children's intestine, your great-grandchildren's intestine. You just don't know. That's the problem. We don't know. And that's why we almost have to act now. Because just look, the world is getting covered in plastic. And this one day is going to come around and affect every single person. Me, you, your parents, your children, your grandchildren, everyone around you is going to be affected. And by then we're going to say, it's too late now. Why didn't we do something about it before? Why didn't we act? Why didn't we take the hint? We've got to do something. I just don't know what it is. Just need some help. We just need to do something, because it's only going to get worse, isn't it? Because the plastic's here. It's all around us. What are we going to do?